Next revenge game that Brinson would like to point out is the Jets at Cowboys. Aaron Rodgers, Dak Prescott. Aaron Rodgers' first time in the AFC. Brinson.
More importantly, it's Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy. We have cross revenge angles here, much like the Eagles and the Chiefs. Andy Reid and the Eagles, Super Bowl with the Eagles coming back that way, et cetera, et cetera. And now you have Mike McCarthy, Big Mike, who wants to run the ball, and Aaron Rodgers' new spot. I think it's a really, really, really interesting game. I mean, duh. But, it's just this is a big boy matchup, Breech.
Yeah, you know what? I actually think that it might mean more to Mike McCarthy as far as revenge goes, because I feel like Aaron Rodgers kind of ran him out of Green Bay. So if you're Mike McCarthy, you're not going to have many more opportunities to face Aaron Rodgers, and you'd like to beat him at some point. This is definitely revenge angle. And I like that these two guys, Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy, get to face each other. So this is definitely, I'm glad it's on your list, Brinson. I would have been let down if it wasn't.
Okay, good. And then also,
I'm going to be a little crisper with these breakdowns, by the way, because the Canes are going to overtime with the Devils.
Oh, whoa. Okay. Well, you've got the Chiefs.
It's fine.
Everybody's got a revenge game against the Chiefs, it seems, Brinson, because you got the Dolphins and the Bengals also versus the Chiefs. So is it just the Chiefs versus everybody?
Well, okay, so Chiefs versus Dolphins, Chiefs versus Bengals. Breech, you're a Bengals guy. Which one's the bigger revenge game there? Tyreek Hill against the Chiefs or the Bengals against the Chiefs?
Tyreek Hill.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. Dude, I was like, wow, really 4 games of the Chiefs in the top 5, I think, or at least 3. It's kind of crazy. But, Bengals and Chiefs back-to-back years, meeting in the AFC Championship game. You have Tyreek Hill, who went on 810 radio in Kansas City and it was like, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm going to toss up the deuces on you guys. There's a lot of beef between both of these parties.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You definitely could put the Bengals on the list, but the Bengals already beat them in an AFC title game. So that doesn't sting as much. And then obviously there's the Orlando Brown factor, but man, Tyreek Hill was there for a while. I think he really wants to crush the Chiefs. I think he wants to have 400 receiving yards in one game and score 7 touchdowns against the Chiefs. So I would put Tyreek Hill as the bigger revenge angle there.
Agreed.
Yeah, early opening line for the Bengals at Chiefs is 3.5, favoring the Chiefs, which of course makes sense considering they're the defending champions. But Burrow is the only quarterback who has beaten Patrick Mahomes 3 times, which is interesting. And then Brinson, you and I were on Spotlight earlier this week talking about how we are robbed of Tyreek Hill going back to Arrowhead.
Because it's in Germany. So I would guess the Chiefs on a neutral field in Germany are probably 4.5 point favorites. I don't know. Breech, what's your number? It's better than mine, I'm sure.
3.5.
Chiefs being favored in Germany.
How many?
Oh no, I'm looking at the wrong thing. 5.5. 5.5.
Yeah, okay, so 5, that's about right. And this is going to be the number 1 revenge game on my list easily if this game were in Kansas City. No doubt about it, because Tyreek Hill holds a grudge. He's explosive.
He holds a grudge, but he wanted out. He's the one that wanted to get paid. Why is he holding a grudge?
People,
because the Chiefs wouldn't pay him.
As I wrote in my story that will be up shortly, because we had to stop a podcast before I could finish it because the schedule came out, but no big deal. The Count of Monte Cristo, which was written in 1844, is entirely based on revenge. The entirety of human civilization is grounded in revenge. And Pete Briscoe's trying to tell me that no one cares about revenge. Get real, old man. Revenge is a thing. And it's definitely a thing in the NFL.
Because of the Count of Monte Cristo? That's what we're basing this off of?
Well, no, then I was like, you have the Count of Monte Cristo on one hand, and you have Larry David Speitster on the other hand. Revenge runs through our culture and our civilization from start to finish. I was going to make the problem is the one guy who wasn't huge on revenge may have a little revenge on his mind because Roger Goodell dropped 3 Christmas games on his birthday. Old Jade at the Sea. He was sort of cool on not getting revenge against people. And Roger Goodell might be on that list.
Okay. Any thoughts on this one, Breech?
Well, you mentioned the holidays. What about the 49ers, Brinson? Maybe they want revenge on old Roger Goodell and the schedule makers because they're playing on Thanksgiving and Christmas. How do you feel about that, Katie? The double holiday whammy? Do you really want to play on two? I mean, one holiday is nice, but two feels maybe overkill.
Yeah, I think for the family members of the 49ers, it's definitely overkill. For the fans, we love it. We're all sitting around watching it anyways. I love going to the games. For a while, the 49ers had the Thanksgiving games. We always had it against Seattle. And I remember we had like a big tailgate with my family because we were season ticket holders for a long time. My family still is. I obviously live out here on the East Coast now. And we deep fried a turkey. I made these floral arrangements that looked like footballs. And we had like a real Thanksgiving dinner in a parking lot. And so I think if you're a true fan, you love it. You love when your teams play on a holiday. But I think for their actual families, it is a little bit of a hindrance. Panthers at Texans, that was your last revenge game before we take a break and you can watch hockey. So tell us.
Well, I mean, I'll miss every time hockey. It's not a big deal. Playoff games are big.
Yeah, you mentioned it.
Don't get to see it very often. CJ Stroud at Bryce Young. This is a freebie, right? I mean, Panthers actually made the list almost 3 times because Baker Mayfield's coming back to Carolina. Feels a little flimsy. Frank Reich against the Colts, definitely a real one. And then how can CJ Stroud, who is like minus 500 or minus 1,000 to go be the first overall pick, was surely convinced because of mock drafts, because of junior NFL draft analysts like Ryan Wilson who were mocking him to the Panthers as late as mid-April. How can CJ Stroud not be a little bit miffed at the fact that he went number 2 overall? When it was Jameis and Mariota in 2016, there was never ever a chance Mariota was going to go first. Andrew Luck, Robert Griffin in 2012, there was some, buzz that maybe they go RG3, but it was never really a chance. CJ Stroud was the betting favorite and considered the guy for Carolina, and then it flipped. If he's not motivated by this, then he needs a new job. Maybe he could be, I don't know what he would do, but like, if you're not motivated by being snubbed by the first overall team and taken second overall, then professional football is not for you.
I'm not even going to comment on that because I agree with it, but I'm going to throw in one more revenge game. Frank Reich versus the Colts, because the Panthers play the Colts, and I bet he wants to destroy them.
That's on the list for sure.
And beat
so let me ask you this: what's a bigger revenge game? Sorry, Katie, but what's a bigger revenge game? Colts Panthers or Texans Panthers?
Colts.
So I need to flip that
Colts,
one. You're right. Thank you. See, this is why the podcast is the best. We hash this out, and it's not just like Frank Reich was fired by the Colts. He was fired mid-season with I think he's 8 games above 500 and replaced by Jeff Saturday. You're right.
Yeah.
That might be number 1.
That actually should be number 1. I don't think anybody wants more revenge than Frank Reich. All right. Who are you picking in that game? I don't know what the line is, but who wins?
Frank Reich. Bigly.
Breech?
Frank Reich by a lot.